Hey everyone, this is Dave with another innovative investment idea for your consideration. Today we'll be looking at a high upside growth stock, Alteryx, that I think has the potential to make you heaps of money if you get in on it soon. But before we get started, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're new to my channel to get more stock market content just like this. So let me paint you a picture as to why I think Alteryx is sitting on a gold mine prior to discussing the stock itself. Throughout human history, we've always utilized or prioritized certain commodities, and in turn, they've helped us to develop and progress as a society over time. First, we had the Stone Age, where we learned to make fire and hunt. Then we discovered gold and silver as a means to store and exchange value. Then came the Bronze Age, where we created better tools and even art as an expression. The Iron Age followed and afforded us more durable, permanent, and powerful constructions. In more recent times came the Industrial Revolution, where steel became a valuable commodity as a building block to railways and skyscrapers due to its tensile strength. Electroplating of copper has fueled electronic growth and innovations within telecommunications, while oil has powered our factories, aviation, automotive, and mass transport systems. Finally, coal accounted for approximately 65% of the global energy consumption in 2017 and is still essential to powering daily life. But we've now arrived at a point in our development as a species where the most valuable commodity is no longer a physical object and is something very different. In fact, it's intangible. Data. Actually, not just data, but lots and lots of data. If you think about it, our evolution from powerful churches, monarchs, countries, and armies has really flipped on its head nowadays and has paved the way for a handful of omnipresent and data-centric corporations which now control our lives to an extent. Yes, you guessed them, Google, Apple, and Facebook. You can probably include Microsoft, Amazon, and maybe even a major Asian player like Alibaba into the mix as well, because to a large degree, they also wheel and deal in data and leverage it for revenue generation, marketing, and influence. Uncoincidentally, these are also some of the largest companies on planet Earth. These companies know absolutely everything about us collectively, can track and aggregate mass amounts of personal and corporate data, usage patterns, even help to influence politics if you think about reach. For example, the whole thing with Facebook and Cambridge Analytica, disseminate and propagate news, help other companies with targeted demographic marketing, and leverage our social and personal networks. Add to that list geographical tracking during a pandemic. Now that we've established that data is the most valuable commodity in society today and represents a shifted power for those that broker or harness it, it should come as no surprise that I believe Alteryx stands as a huge beneficiary from this wide-scale transformation, as data really is their secret sauce. Okay, so let's dive in. The data science and analytics company called Alteryx, listed on the NYSE with ticker symbol AYX, Alpha Yankee X-Ray. They went public on Friday, March 24th, 2017, just a little over 3 years ago, with an initial price of $14, closed at $15.50 on their first trading day alone, and in the 3 years since has already increased ninefold, now at a current price a hair under $130 as of recording. Their market cap sits at a relatively meager $8.6 billion, a dwarf in today's technology-first landscape, where streaming company and one-trick pony Netflix is valued at $200 billion, and Zoom sits at a staggering $50 billion, but provides only video conferencing software. This is probably the first minor clue in its current undervaluation. But before we go any farther with price metrics, it's important to first do our due diligence and examine what they provide as a company and their core business. Here is an extract from their website. They have built an award-winning end-to-end platform which unifies the analytic experience, enabling organizations to break data barriers. The Alteryx platform provides the analytic flexibility that business analysts, data scientists, and IT need to discover, prep, analyze, and operationalize analytic models through a collaborative and governed platform. If you're actually interested in seeing the platform in action, I've left a link in the description for an official video demo recorded by Alteryx to see for yourself. The target users are both data analytics professionals as well as average users who live in Excel. Their product doesn't change the analytics process at all, but makes it more accessible, has a focus on user friendliness, and shies away from complicated programming, which is a key in my opinion if you want to increase sales on a massive scale and increase adoption rates. It's the basic tenet of any sort of compelling UX design. Without too much hyperbole, their product is to Microsoft Excel what Excel is to pen and paper. The next thing we should discuss when assessing the value proposition of a company and whether it is worthy of an investment is its economic moat. a term popularized by Warren Buffett and refers to a business's ability to maintain competitive advantage over its competitors in order to protect its long-term profits and market share from those competing firms. Just like a medieval castle, the moat serves to protect those inside the fortress from would-be invaders. Examples of some current economic moats include Uber in ride-sharing, Google in the realm of search engines, Amazon in online marketplaces, and Spotify in the music streaming space. The barrier of entry is extremely high for new businesses to compete with those established players. Within data science and analytics, software can generally be broken down into several categories or functions: catalog and organize data, data preparation, visualization, and building predictive models based on data. Most of the players in the data analytics space specialize in only one field, such as Calibra within cataloging, Click within visualization, or Data Robot, which uses automated machine learning to build predictive models. Some other companies such as Tableau, which was acquired by Salesforce in mid-2019, operate across several categories such as visualization and preparation, and I believe Dataiku is also capable of doing some predictive modeling even though it's not illustrated, but Alteryx is the only major player to be able to do the entire spectrum. All four aspects, a one-stop shop for data analytics. This gives it a major advantage in a metric known as the expansion rate, which came in at 130% in 2019. This means that existing customers augmented their spending by 30% relative to 2018, either by purchasing additional subscriptions or by expanding the scope of the license. If you've ever worked in or around sales, a very effective and popular strategy broadly employed is known as land and expand. The key is that you firstly land a deal, whether big or small, by getting your foot in the door, then upsell or expand over time because your customer has become used to or dependent on your product, as well as having built a rapport with the sales team. It's essentially the enterprise version of "would you like fries with that?" Another key point is that Alteryx doesn't enforce any particular data standard or technology, but aggregates and integrates with all of them. In other words, data agnostic. This means it even works with some rival platforms such as Click and Tableau for customers with existing software infrastructure, and it isn't tied down to any particular platform such as Salesforce or Microsoft Power BI that work better with Azure. I'll also mention that there are a few open source tools out there such as R programming, SAS, and Python, which can be used to develop an end-to-end solution, but it requires a huge amount of effort and presumably an army of developers to achieve the end result. Due to its ease of use, you might say that Alteryx has disruptive potential as it is forcing legacy or entrenched players to adapt their mode of operation or simply become redundant. Now, as we have touched on its expansion rate and selling strategy, let's next take a look at its customer base. This graphic reinforces what I described earlier about data being the number one commodity. Alteryx currently has 6,400 plus customers across every industry and vertical on the planet: retail, food services, consumer, telecom, media, professional services, energy, healthcare, manufacturing, financial services, travel, and technology. To frame the number of customers accurately and put things in perspective, Alteryx had 2,565 customers in Q1 2017, but by Q1 2019, it was 4,973. From 4,973 to 6,400 is a 30% year-on-year growth, a very sturdy number indeed. As a side note, even some NFL teams have become customers in order to help them win games in an era where sports analytics is exploding. For example, in the NBA, where data scientists have figured out that shooting 38% on three-pointers works out to be more points than shooting 50% on two-pointers. And casinos in Vegas and Indian reservations are also turning to spatial analytics and predictive modeling to help with revenue generation and resource planning. I'm not going to list all the companies here, but some of the major customers include Home Depot, IKEA, Adidas, Netflix, Fox, Microsoft, Oracle, HSBC, Airbus, Chevron, Procter & Gamble, and Cisco. The market here is enormous, and by analyzing data effectively, it will help in all aspects from planning and resourcing to just-in-time manufacturing, logistics, and of course, sales. It isn't difficult to imagine that all these companies would want greater worker efficiency, especially if the platform can allow a single user to do what was traditionally a 10-man operation. I'll mention again that Alteryx had a 130% expansion rate in 2019, now that you've seen their customers, which includes 37% of the world's 2,000 largest companies. Okay, so finally, let's get to the all-important financials. Alteryx's full-year revenue for 2019 was $418 million, an increase of 65% compared to revenue of $253.6 million for 2018. You can see the impressive year-on-year growth rate, having 5x'd over the 4-year period since 2016. The net income for the full year 2019 was $27.1 million, but actually the company was already profitable the previous year with $28 million net. It's a tiny bit disappointing that the net income did not expand between 2018 and 19 despite the massive jump in revenue, but we have to give them a pass as the sample size literally includes just the 1 year to draw any material conclusions. It still bodes well that for a company that IPO'd only a few short years ago, that they are already consistently profitable. Overall, it's clear that the annual revenues for the company are growing at a very healthy clip. Q1 2020's revenue of $109 million came in under Q4 2019's $156, which isn't surprising considering the state of the global economy in light of the pandemic, but it's still a 43% year-on-year increase from Q1 2019. As we get back on the road to recovery and look years down the road, the trajectory is certainly there with the company establishing a new revenue floor each year, which is exactly what investors should be looking for in a promising growth stock. A key point to note that I hope does not get lost in all this is that the company operates under a SaaS model, or software as a service, meaning that all sales provide predictable recurring revenue and are not simply one-off. I'll mention for the final time the 130% retention rate, which in this context implies they will only ever add to the top line every year, and in the unlikely event they fail to land new accounts, they shouldn't fall below the revenue floor established in the prior year. So everything on the surface looks pretty good, but not amazing considering the high valuation. Its price to sales ratio is approximately 20, and forward price to earnings of 255. Both are astronomical figures, even for a high growth company. However, the last piece of evidence I'm about to provide is a tipping point and really is the straw to break the proverbial camel's back, and why you should be extremely bullish on this stock. Let's watch this clip with Jim Cramer for Mad Money, who interviewed CEO Dean Stoecker in September 2019.
All right, one last question, Dean. Obviously, you don't control your stock. Stock has been, was a rocket, has come back down. Advice to people who own the stock?
Well, listen, it's one day in our journey. We are not changing anything. Our go-to-market model is more powerful than the platform itself. We have in play a massive opportunity. There's a $24 billion addressable market just in the line of business. And our belief is that the winner take all in that space, and we intend it to be us, will be the natural beneficiary of the share shift to the $28 billion of technology, legacy technology that sits in IT today. So we're very bullish on the future. We're excited about our lot in life. We took a long journey to get to this point, and we're going to continue down this path to success.
So, according to the CEO, there is a $24 billion addressable market from line of business, meaning all potential winnable business within enterprise data analytics globally, but also an additional $28 billion from legacy IT. That's a total of $52 billion to be spent in the field of data analytics. If we consider for a moment that Alteryx reported only $418 million in revenues, that figure represents less than 1% of the total addressable market. While they are unlikely to win 100% of the market, given their competitive advantage across the data analytics spectrum provided by their platform, their expanding customer base and high expansion rate, even a conservative market share of the $52 billion will award them revenues orders of magnitude higher than current levels, and subsequently should deliver investors a much higher stock price for capital growth, which will ultimately justify the high ratio valuations. That about wraps it up for this video. What are your thoughts on Alteryx? I'd love to see them down below in addition to any other questions or comments. Also, don't forget to hit that like button if you found this video helpful or insightful. Before I go, click on the left for my thoughts on Beyond Meat and click on the right for a general overview on the 3 types of stocks on the market today worth buying. As always, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.